All right. Good morning, everyone. This is take number 2 for Tuesday, March 7th. It is a full moon energy today. So, thank you all for being here and being patient with my tech challenges this morning. It looks like everything is working right now. So, good morning. I'm Dr. Minette Riordan. This is Painting in Your PJs live with Minette, where we talk about all things life, love, art, and use visual journaling as a process. Yay, Judy, you made it back. Fantastic. Where we use visual journaling as a process for self exploration, for making the unconscious conscious on the page. I'm going to grab a sip of tea here, real quick. Nothing like starting the day off with some tech challenges, but it looks like everything is working now. You can hear me, and we're back on live. So I want to continue to work with this idea of using images from magazines as masks and stencils in our pages, maybe do some journaling in a little bit different way. And I was running a little bit late this morning because I paused to cut this image out because I really liked kind of sort of the figure of how she looks. I have not yet put this one on a onto a whatchamacallit, a tag. And if you don't have tags, manila folders, like old recycled manila folders, work great for this. But I think this is a very interesting position and would create a really interesting shape on the page. But I was flipping through magazines. I was really drawn to this profile and how she's holding her arm up here. Obviously, this one is too big for a tag, and but it's the cover, the inside cover, so it's a little thicker. So I'm going to try working just with the magazine image itself this morning and see where we can get to. And hopefully, everyone else is finding their way back to the live stream this morning. So if you're able to join me again, be sure and say hi in the chat. Let me know that you're here and that you made it back over here. And so this is going to be interesting because it's also big for the journal. And so I think what I'm feeling inspired to do, because I want to work with this image, is I'm actually going to grab a larger journal than I normally work in. So this is just a big mixed media journal. I love the Canson Mixed Media Journal. It's a brand new one. I've barely done anything in it, so it feels kind of fun. And this is a more appropriate size for this bigger page. Hi again. Yay. Glad you're back. Awesome. Okay. So I'm going to put this journal out of the way. So this is how I work in the mornings. You guys know I'm a little bit for the first part of these videos, sort of thinking through what it is that I want to do. I did an oracle card reading with the full moon energy this morning. I did some journaling. So I'm feeling kind of thoughtful and introspective as we go. And so there was something about the intensity of the look on her face that really inspired me. And so what the oracle card reading was telling me this morning was that I would benefit from some hard work. And so I told my husband that I need to sit and think about what does that mean and where have I been in resistance to hard work? Where have I been wanting to just sort of relax and play? And one of the places I've been doing that is around health and, eating healthy. I also want to show you, I discovered this fascinating little tool. I saw someone else using it on Instagram called a gyro cut. And I'm still figuring it out. I haven't got it perfect, but it's great for fussy cutting little tiny images and spaces. So you're going to watch me try to play with this morning. But I can notice where I can benefit from some hard work and really dial in, what is it that I'm eating. I can notice where Maybe I get lazy around my exercise, like it's another snowy, cold day today and freezing rain outside. And so I know I'm not going to get outside. So that means I've got to maybe do some dancing or some yoga inside. And I love how this tool gets right up on the edges of things. And you definitely kind of have to get it lined up in the right direction. And I'm definitely probably not going to get it perfect for a little while. And so I want to err maybe on the side of going, oops, see there, trying to figure that out. Err on the side of going bigger than the image, not smaller. And I think I want to just use my scissors, but I'm wondering where it's going to be really helpful maybe for some smaller spaces. But that's probably going to take a little more time than I want to spend on cutting things out because this is a bigger image. It did work great on that smaller image that I cut out. And it definitely creates a neater edge. So as I'm sort of, playing with both of those together, I can see the benefits of that cutter for sure. X-Acto knives work great, but they don't have that sort of ability to go around things. And it did. I used it to cut this image out this morning, and that definitely worked great. And fussy cutting with scissors can be a little challenging to get around edges of fingers. And I'm curious what it's going to look like when I use this shape as a mask. So this one I won't use as a stencil, I'll use it as a mask and maybe do some different kind of journaling on the page. So I'm going to start by just getting as much of that out of there as I can. And then I think where this little gadget is going to come in really handy is in these little spaces. So I love testing out and trying new tools. And you're watching me do that here on screen. Okay, it's a little tricky to kind of get that blade going in the right direction, but once it's going in the right direction, it definitely works like a charm. But getting that little point exactly where I want it, I haven't gotten the hang of it yet. I was watching somebody use it on Instagram, and she definitely had the hang of it down. Okay, it didn't quite cut all the way through. Like she was just zipping around the edges of images, and I thought, oh, that's what I want. I want to be able to zip around the edges of images. So today is the full moon in Virgo, and apparently this full moon is about hard work and looking ahead to the next few months at, what do we want to commit ourselves to? And I think that I've been in this place of not wanting to wear myself out or get too tired. I've never been like a lazy person. I'm definitely on the overdoing side of things. I'm going to get the little rubber tip put back on that blade. I do too. I love new toys. All right. So she definitely fits pretty well on this big page. Now that she's cut out, I can come back over here to my smaller journal and see, well, how much of her would fit on this page. But there's something about sort of capturing more of her, although I kind of like that as well. So I might use her a couple of times and see some of the different ways that I can play with her. I want to cut that last little piece out of the corner there. All right. So I want to just play and get some paint down on the background, get some marks, maybe some stencils going. I had mentioned yesterday my brand new class found objects and it is ready to go. I haven't shared the link out anywhere, but I've been having so much fun playing with all these different materials. And I even kind of love that I could just use one whole page of this in my journal. And this kind of has some interesting sort of full moon energy happening over here. I don't usually use a whole sheet of collage, but that's really kind of cool. So this I did with an old toothbrush, obviously not a toothbrush that's being used, and it's one that, had some pretty thick bristles in here, and I literally just scrubbed the surface in a variety of different ways with the paint on there and really loved the texture that created. So that's one of, good morning, Yvonne, one of the techniques that I teach in that new found objects class, and that'll be announced in my email today. I finally got that email done and out. So I'm going to get a lot of matte medium down on this page here. And I'm going to stick that whole piece of collage paper down. And I'm so excited, you guys. My May in-person retreat is completely sold out. So fun. We're getting ready to, in the beginning of April, run our color-coded emotions again. So it was interesting that my full moon reading was all about hard work and how I would benefit from working hard. And so I get to ask, where am I in resistance? Where do I need to be focusing, or where do I need more clarity? So those were some of the things that I was thinking about this morning, which is maybe why I liked this particular image, because she just definitely has this kind of look of sort of fierce focus on her face. So it's interesting working to get a whole page of collage down, right? I want to make sure I get that nice and smooth. The paper's pretty thin, so I'm probably going to get a few wrinkles in it, but wrinkles just create interesting texture, so I'm okay with that. And I'm even kind of liking this black and the fact that, she's wearing that red dress and wondering if we're going to have a red and black palette today, which would be interesting. So getting good coverage on those edges. Actually pushed a piece away there, which is fine. And what I noticed yesterday, so I'm using these collage materials were created just on inexpensive kids drawing paper, and when it got really wet, it was definitely tearing a little bit. And so I want to make sure that I seal this really well and get it really dry before I start adding paint so I can keep that nice and sealed, which is the benefit of working with matte medium as a collage material. And I think, again, this question of where am I resisting hard work? Definitely in my diet lately, been wanting to just eat all the things, lots of bready things, which really don't make me feel 100%. And so just noticing what are the choices that I'm making and how are they serving me in every area of my life? Where could I put in a little bit of extra time in the office or in the studio to move some projects forward? So there's lots going on, there's lots I want to be doing, and there's some projects that are, on hold just waiting for me. And I love when pages come together in a way that just feels kind of simple and fun. I do, whatever I'm using to spread that matte medium, I do like to clean it off because it does get things pretty gummed up on there. And so I'm just kind of looking. It's like she's looking right into the eye of that storm, which is just interesting. She's kind of pretty the way she is. I'm like, do I even want to paint over her? What if that was the page? What would that say? Where is this idea of hard work and focus um, something that I would benefit from, right? Like one of the questions in the reading I did was about, mental clarity, and it was the answer was a lot about productivity, right? So just kind of noticing. She's kind of cool. All right, but I'm going to keep on with my plan. I'm going to get this super dry, so bear with me for a minute while I get this dry. I'll put myself on mute so you don't have to listen to that dryer. All right. So the interesting thing about my relationship with hard work. So I've always been someone who is a hard worker, who does a lot, who doesn't always make time for rest. And so when I get these hints that maybe I'm not working hard enough, I definitely can be in a lot of resistance. What do you mean I'm not doing enough? And I've been focusing a lot in my own life and in my teachings on this idea of deep rest and how important rest is to our creativity. There is kind of a face there and an eye. It's interesting, right? It's interesting how this page sort of turned out. And in fact, I don't have my phone over here. It's like this was such a fun page. It's like, oh, do I want to let it go? And remember, if you have a page that you don't want to let go, snap a picture or make a photocopy, and then you can use it over and over again. But because I know how I created it, I don't need to do that. So what I'm thinking is I'm going to come in here. Let's see, we'll try this white Posca and see if I can see her edges. I'm thinking I'm going to paint the figure red. That glue's still a little bit wet. Oops, we got a little bit of extra paper in there. The Posca definitely does not like wet matte medium. It is not good for your Poscas. So I'm going to use this as an outline for the moment and decide where I want to go next. But I want to get the figure down on the page so I can see, so I know you can just barely see that. So I know I'm going to want to round the top of her head. Maybe bring her mouth out just a little bit. And there's something interesting about just leaving this the black and white. In the lower left down here is where you're seeing a face. So interesting to see what other people see. There's a face here, right? Sort of tucked in there. And this would be a fun one to just do some drawing on and see what I could find. Let's see, not fluorescent red. All right, let's play with this cadmium red deep, being inspired by the color that's already on the image. And what happens when we just have this silhouette of a person on the page? Keeping the paint kind of thin, which allows for that transparency where I'm still seeing the marks of the paper underneath. And what's interesting as I'm looking at this is, there's definitely some stormy energy around and sort of, this eye of the storm here. So looking just sort of at the symbolism of that. Yes, I love this red. This is a Nova color. I love their paints, and this is a cadmium red deep, and it's a very opaque red. They're a nice sort of fluid acrylic similar to a golden, but more affordable. They're based in LA. Let's get a little smaller brush for the fingers here. And there's something the way about how she's holding her hand that I find interesting as well, almost as if she's beckoning something towards her. So here we have this really interesting shape on the page, right? We have this interesting shape on the page, and I'm wanting to maybe just bring in a little bit of that red in a few other places. Again, just letting the brush kind of do the work for me. Maybe even just a little bit in our eye of the storm. So it's always a great stretch to challenge ourselves to work with a really limited palette. So this is not my normal palette that I'm drawn to. It's not I don't usually work, right, with just so few colors. And sometimes it's just fascinating to just slow down, to make different choices. As always, I'm letting the page speak to me, right? Rather than me trying to decide what's next, to just be in the energy of that. And so, again, I love that she's sort of looking right into this maelstrom and saying, bring it on, bring it on. Feeling like I want some kind of leafy shape or something growing down here in the corner. And I'm not liking the way those marks, like they're not moving in the right or the same direction as other things. Get my water going here, and I'm just going to grab a baby wipe and just push those back. Also feeling like I want to bring in some white. Hi, Georgia. You need to come say hello. Good morning. Georgia always likes to be part of the party. As soon as she hears me talking, she's like, I want some of that. Whatever that is, I want to be the center of attention. So what I love about the matte medium is it creates that, surface that allows us to just really remove paint as much as we put it on and to push it back. And let's see. So I'm going to get this dry again, and then I'm feeling like I want to maybe just do a little drawing over the top of her. And then I think I'm going to use this space actually as a journaling space to go in and write down some of those thoughts that I was feeling this morning. But I'm going to get this super dry first, so bear with me for just a second as we get this. So I'm kind of loving the drama of this, right? Like it's a definitely a much more dramatic piece, and that's, I start to sort of pay attention and kind of notice where my art is going. And so yesterday's piece was also a very monochromatic piece with blue, black, and white. And it's maybe something about the light of the full moon and how that just, creates and casts shadows. But also, there's a lot of singularity and focus in using just one color as opposed to going crazy with all the colors, which I normally love to do. But my sense is that there needs to be something down here, and I'm wondering, do I want to continue with this motif of the tree? Do I want to draw something? So I'm going to draw here with just a Stabilo Marks All pencil. It's water soluble. Holding that very loosely and just drawing a leafy pattern, because if I don't love it, I can wash it away again. And it feels like just somehow there needs to be something on here that just kind of connotes growth, right? That connotes growth. And I also think that, when this, coming back to this idea of hard work, that I'm so fortunate. It's definitely not what I want. Okay. So to love what I do. And so much of the time, most of my work feels like play, whether I am working with clients, whether I'm here with all of you in the morning, and I still have maybe a few little hints of the marks behind, which is just going to add to the richness of the page, but that wasn't the direction that I wanted to go. When I'm working on new programs and products, but there's a lot of the parts of the business that do feel like, and I don't feel like writing an email. Or I love creating a course, but then I actually have to market the course and tell people about it. So, there's just noticing where the parts that I lean into that feel really fun, and then where are the parts that I'm like, not so much. And so I might put them off or procrastinate. So I'm just adding some black around the edges here with that Stabilo. Just wanting her to maybe pop out. From that page a little bit more. And I can even sort of just pull that out. Maybe there's a little shadow. If I want a more permanent, really dark line, I would come in with a Posca or my beloved Permapaque. It's just feeling like we just need a little bit of that. All right, just continuing to work with her, have her pop out from the page. Cutting the tip off a makeup sponge so I can reuse it. I'm going to grab some white paint. There's the white paint. That one's just about empty. And I love repeating motifs in my art. So last week I painted an abstract spontaneous tree. Yesterday and today I'm feeling very drawn to this stencil that someone else created. I love getting trees and branches into my work all the time, but I found this great set of tree stencils. on Amazon. And there's something about the symbol of the tree that just wants to keep appearing. So again, just adding some interest to the page. It's not a complicated page, but it feels like a meaningful and impactful page. So when you're working in your own journal, like giving yourself permission to kind of play with a monochromatic palette. This one is black, white, and red. Red is my one color. I could have done the page all in reds as well. How about a little bit of up there? Mix those together, maybe get a nice little gray. Just want some of these branches up behind her as well. And I talked about, the energy of trees last week that are so much about both for me, trees are so much about being grounded and rooted, but also reaching for the skies and the air. Okay, let's see if we can more or less get that back into the same place. And that we need both. We need to be, there we go. We need to be grounded, firmly plant those seeds, but also to reach for the skies, to connect with spirit. Okay, I'm liking this black, so I'm thinking I'm going to bring some of that black down here into these branches too, so we can maybe see them outside the red. Cool, so we got this cool shadowy effect. I moved the stencil just a little bit off center from where it was before. And I just get fascinated by how these pages unfold without a lot of thinking on my part, right? Without any sort of hint about where I'm going or what I want to do. And so I'm just always kind of marvel about what that end result is going to look like. And sometimes I love the end result, sometimes that end result is fussy and frustrating, and sometimes it's simple. And then I can come back again and just notice, right? What's the difference here between she's sort of standing in the light of the full moon, and there's some stars, even though you wouldn't see the stars in a full moon, but she's got her hands in her pockets. She's sort of staring straight forward, gazing off into the distance, and there's a lot happening behind her, right? This was open on my table, and I love sort of stepping away, and I let it stay here and coming back and liking it better this morning when I saw it, but also just sort of noticing the similarities between the pages and the differences between the pages. So I'm using so many of the same elements, the tree, the masked figure, we have this sort of swirly, maybe moon energy, and yet this one feels much more potent and intense this morning. And I think I want to come in and maybe get that full moon. So kind of like I did with the paint yesterday, just bringing a little more white back in. Remembering that white just creates some of that contrast. And definitely feeling like I want to have some words on this page. And I'm like, do I fill all of her with writing? Do I fill part of her with writing? So I'm just kind of sitting in curiosity about where I want to go next with this. blackening up a little of those blacks. I'm feeling a lot of the sort of energy of contrast here with these bold colors. The figure could be an owl as opposed to a person. Is that what you're seeing? And it's always so interesting looking at it on the screen as opposed to, and it might be fun to have an owl sitting in the tree. Okay, I think what I want to do is to just create a little space down here to do some journaling and have it kind of stand out and just be a little separate from the rest of the figure. The eye of an owl. I love that. Which is also about keen insight and vision, the symbolism of the owl. All right. Want that to be maybe a little less black. So again, putting that paint on, wiping it off. You guys are going to hear me saying the same things over and over again. This is about learning to let go the process, right? To not get attached, to feel like you're wasting paint. It's just paint and paper. So I'm going to let that get good and dry. Thank you, Yvonne. Me too. It came together really beautifully. And it amazes me how just, something as simple as being inspired by the shape of this magazine and the color of her dress. And it was the fierce focus in her eye and the way she's holding her hand really inspired me and connected to what I did in my journaling earlier this morning. So let me get this dry and then I'm going to add some words in there. So definitely want that to be nice and dry before I bring my nice Posca in there. So I'm going to bring these branches back over the top of my box there. So they look like they're sort of hanging over the space. Seeing where else can I just give those a little more shape and dimension. And I know I'm going to do some writing, but I'm not sure what I'm going to write yet. So this is that moment of just allowing myself to pause and to sit with the page and then to come back later and do the journaling. It's always so hard for me to just stop because boy, do I love a finished page and a finished product and being able to, show that sort of start to finish. But what I'm really noticing right now is that what's needed is to step away a little bit, to step away. So I'm going to bring the hand back a little bit and even maybe bringing in the different fingers there a little bit. No, that didn't really work. All right, so what I can sense is that I'm starting to fuss and get too particular, and that means it's definitely time to step away, let that get nice and dry, and then I can come back in and fix those details up a little bit. I think what I'm wanting is to be able to And hands are so tricky to just maybe, her fingers are quite delicate, and I love that sort of delicateness of her fingers, and wanting to maybe see those fingers just a little bit more in her hand. Ish, right? Their finger ish. It's amazing, just giving them a few little fingernails helps. Okay, it is time to be done and not mess it up because I'm really happy with where it's at. And I might even do a little word search in a magazine to try to maybe find the words that I'm looking for. But it did ultimately end up flowing so beautifully, and I'm happy with the result. Again, just sort of fascinated that the same imagery flowed from yesterday right into today. And part of that is because the same supplies are sitting on my desk. But I liked where this one went. I like that I can still see the beautiful collage below her. And again, I'm loving working with these, just silhouettes of magazine images as masks and stencils to just get interesting figures on the page that I might not have thought of myself. So thank you so much for joining me. Again, apologies for the little bit of, excuse me, tech complication at the beginning. I will see you all same place, same time, 7 a.m. Mountain Time tomorrow for another episode of Painting in Your PJs live with Minette. Have a beautiful rest of your day. Thank you for joining me live. Thank you for watching the replay, and I would love it if you would like this video so it'll encourage more people to come along and watch as well. Thank you, and I'll see you all tomorrow.